Today we're talking about The Strangers Chapter 1. We're going to talk about The Strangers as a whole, I think, because I have a little update for you on that. And inevitably, this is going to turn into a rant, and I might actually do a full extended rant on this era of remakes. And yes, I've done a million conversations on that before, but there's something about this time that it's getting worse, guys. It's getting worse. But I really want to look at the last 10 years specifically, maybe even the 2010s era of remakes, and look at that group of remakes, because obviously remakes have been around since the 80s, but there's something about the 2010s and now 2020s remakes that are, it's just like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Actually, I know exactly why, and we'll get into that later. Anyway, let's talk about Strangers Chapter 1. Unfortunately, it is as bad as everyone is talking about, and this isn't even going to be my standard like review formula that I usually do in my videos, where I sit and talk about what it's about and all the things I liked about it and all the things I didn't like and my overall rating and then some spoilers. We're not really doing that today because I can't talk about this movie without feeling some kind of way about it and ranting about it a little bit. And I think my frustration comes from movies like this being made in general when there's a budget there, obviously, for something new and original, right? We didn't necessarily need a Strangers remake. We don't need anything at all. I get it. We don't need any movie to be made. I get that argument, don't worry. But if we're going to be spending the money anyway, can we get something that's like unique? It's not even just that the movies are being made, it's that they get these huge theatrical releases with a lot of promotional stuff and a lot of marketing, a lot of trailers. There's even people out in the streets marketing for this movie, right? With the people dressed up as the strangers. I can't do it with these bad movies getting this kind of press and getting this kind of attention, only for them to put zero effort into the movie at all. That's harsh, okay? It's not the truth. But they knew what they were doing when they made this movie, and they were completely piggybacking off of the cult following that is The Strangers from 2008. That's the frustration, is you can see what they're doing, and movies and production companies and directors and writers and Hollywood in general is getting worse and worse when it comes to this, when they are just clearly making a movie for money because they're not putting in a lot of money into the movie itself. And it's like, where did that go? Where did that art form go of making a movie? Again, I am acknowledging, I feel like I'm just getting into the rant right now that I'm supposed to be saving for another video. Anyway, I know that there are plenty of original horror movies that come out and great artistic movies. I mean, just look at the year as a whole. We have a lot of great original horror movies being released this year, and not every movie needs to be an art piece. I'm not saying that at all. We cannot all have long legs every week, okay? We can't just do that all the time. We need those like cheesy popcorn movies, but I just see those movies being the primary focus here and making the most money. If you look at how much money the horror movies that have been released thus far this year have made, the ones that are actually decently made and like, you know, did something pretty unique with, they're not doing as well as the popcorn ones. And I think Hollywood and horror now, I can't say Hollywood because like that's just one specific, that's like just American movies, and obviously we're getting a lot of other movies, but they are catering to the general audience, which why wouldn't they, right? It's all about the money. I feel like I'm going on a little bit of too far of a tangent. We don't need to go that far. Let's just get back on track with The Strangers and we'll see where this conversation goes. This is a lot less structured than my other videos, but I took notes. I took notes when I was in the movie. Don't worry, there was no one around me except for my friend. So first update I want to give you is about the original Strangers. If you've been subscribed to my channel for a long time, I've been doing this over 10 years, and I've always said The Strangers is not my favorite movie. Home invasions are not my favorite movies in general. They're not my favorite subgenre of horror. They're fine, but they've never really scared me. They're just not my movies out of the genre, and especially The Strangers is not my movie. But I rewatched the original Strangers the other day. And I get it. My opinion has completely changed. I don't know if it's because of the fact that I'm a mom now and I'm a lot more sensitive to certain kinds of horror, and the realistic horror movies, yeah, it gets to me a little bit more than it used to. I still prefer supernatural and like ghosty paranormal stuff. That's still my genre. But the realism stuff, it's a lot more disturbing to me now. It's not a perfect movie by any means. I don't love like the last shot in that movie or the last scene necessarily. Or like, you know, it has some jump scares here and there as well. But I have a new appreciation for that movie, and I actually really enjoyed my viewing experience, if you can say that, because it is very dark and unsettling, to say the least. Then I went and saw Chapter 1. Now I say Chapter 1 because, as you know, The Strangers is becoming a trilogy. Chapter 1 we just got. Apparently the other 2 chapters are supposed to come out this year. Oh, and I do want to address Pray at Night, because I actually really love Pray at Night, and again, a long time I have said that Pray at Night is better than the original. I don't know that I would still say that. They're pretty comparable. I love Pray at Night. It has one of my favorite scenes in any horror movie, and that is the pool scene, of course. Anyway, let's get into, what is this, a reboot? The Strangers Chapter 1, is it a reboot technically? To me, it's a remake. They basically remade it. I don't know what they're gonna do with the sequels. Also, there is a mid-credits scene for the new movie, just so you know. So I will be saying some spoilers, not like, maybe they're huge. I don't really know what I'm going to say in this video, but there will be spoilers for the original Strangers if you haven't seen it, and there will be spoilers for the new movie if you haven't seen it. I can't do this without spoiling it, and it's not necessarily like huge moments. I'm not necessarily talking about the ending or anything like that. Granted, there will be one comment about the ending, but generally I'm just going to talk about little things, nitpicking. This is a nitpick video. The first thing I obviously noticed while watching this movie is the change in exposition of the story and the change in character dynamic between the couple. So obviously The Strangers follows a couple, and there's a home invasion, and thus the movie continues. In the original, we have a lot of tension between the couple, and we're slowly figuring out why they're uncomfortable around each other. Why is there this tension between them? And that just adds to the whole backdrop of the story of the movie and why it ends up being disturbing, I guess, and it just adds to the story. So in the new one, there's nothing wrong with them. There's like okay, so this is the tension in the new one. They've been dating 5 years and they haven't gotten married, guys. Can you believe that? She doesn't want to get married. Obviously, this is a little bit of an ode to the original story of the couple. There's no tension there. There's no tension there. That adds absolutely nothing to the end of the story, and what does happen in the end gives me nothing. It gives me nothing. I've been with my partner for 11 years, not married. I know. Engaged. We have a baby. And then the couple in the movie, there's like, they're happy. They're happy. So there's no tension between them at all. And I don't know why they changed this. If they have no dynamic between them where you're not curious at all about what happened, it's not pulling you in with the tension. What they replaced that with instead are creepy side characters for no reason. We got the mechanic that's eyeing him down, who ends up being a little bit of a creep. I don't know. We got the 2 little boys on the bike. As you know, those make an appearance at the end of the original. They're in the beginning of this one, and they're creepy. They're just lazy choices to do to make the viewer feel something. It's just such lazy writing. Like, oh, let's make this old man in this small town a little scary. Oh, these 2 little boys on a bike are acting really weird. Why? We don't need that at all. But the change in dynamic and the change in the story did nothing for me. It was horrible. And honestly, I'm going to say a little insulting to the original, because the original, I think, setup is so good. I think it's great storytelling, right? We don't need everything laid out for us. It is told through their body language. It is told through a little bit of a flashback. I think it's great. This one over-explains every single thing. There are random callbacks to the original, such as when the person knocks on the door is Tamara here, and the light is unscrewed and he screws it back in. Again, this one had really no tension behind that, unlike the first one. And then they changed some quintessential things that I think are almost essential to the tension building of the story. An example is, you know, in the original, when the man is standing behind the woman in the door in the background, there's no jump scares, there's no music, she's chilling, she's just standing there smoking her cigarette, and we see the man behind her and she does not, right? That adds tension because we're like, what's happening? Although there are jump scares in the original, I think it's done so well because in the times that we don't need a jump scare are still very unsettling without any of that. In this one, we get like, first of all, we get jump scares. Okay, we get jump scares in this one and they are unbearable. There's a garbage disposal jump scare. She accidentally turns the switch for the garbage disposal, which of course is very loud. And then, I can't remember if this is before or after, we see just the man walk by the frame. I guess that's their callback to this. Well, there's more. So she's standing there, the man walks by behind her, obviously in front of the camera. Then their callback is when she's at the piano. Okay, Madeline Petch is playing the piano. I think her name's Maya in the movie. And there's a mirror right above her. She's facing the mirror, right? She's looking at the keys, but there's a mirror. We see in the mirror a man sitting behind her in the chair. Okay, so this is their attempt at that famous scene from the original with the man behind her, but she's facing the mirror. If she looked up for 2 seconds, not even, if she did a little one of these, she would see a man sitting behind her in the chair, okay? And to me, it was a lot less effective than the original. Not to mention, okay, in the original, I know I'm doing a lot of comparisons here, but that's the point. This is kind of just a basic remake. This is literally a remake. I don't know if they were going for a reboot, or I don't even know, but it's basically a remake. So it's going to be a lot of comparisons. In the original, the character maybe does some questionable things to move the story along. However, the character in the new one is one of the dumbest characters I've seen in a movie in a long time. Okay, I know I'm really being harsh here, but this character was so stupid.
Maya is a resilient young woman who makes strong and smart decisions.
So the story goes, the boyfriend realizes he left his inhaler in the car that broke down that's now at the mechanics. Okay. And she's like, oh, I'm a little hungry. I could go for some food. And so he decides to leave. Do you want to know the means of how he decided to leave? So they had to rent this random Airbnb in the middle of nowhere. Okay, clearly a setup. I don't really know. They didn't really explain that in the end, so I'm hoping that's explained in the second or the third one. Anyway, they rent this Airbnb. They don't have their car, right? It broke down. He said, well, I saw a motorcycle on the property. There's a random motorcycle. I'll just ride it into town. So many things here. First of all, she's like, do you even know how to ride? Meaning she didn't know that he had ridden a motorcycle before. And she just trusted that he knew. She just trusted that. You're going to trust your partner to be like, I know how to ride. Sure, I've done it a couple times. I'd be like, absolutely not. You're not, first of all, you're not leaving me in the middle of nowhere where the people have been creepy, right? No self-awareness. Two, you're not riding a motorcycle, especially a random man's motorcycle. You're going to take a motorcycle that isn't yours. Where are you finding the keys? Where are you finding anything in this house? You just got here. It's like they didn't know how to get him to leave the house because, oh, yeah, that's right. They changed the story. So now the car broke down. They changed that. So now they had to fix that and be like, well, how do we get him to leave? You don't need to. You don't need to. It's a reboot, right? Why is he taking a motorcycle into town? It just seemed like a stupid choice, but that's not even who I'm talking about when I say stupid character. It's not even him riding the motorcycle into town. After the man leaves, okay, mind you, this is right after they had that random girl knock on their door and say, is Tamara here? Okay, the famous scene, we all know it. And then she leaves and he leaves and now she's alone in that house, okay? She decides to make as much noise as humanly possible. I don't know, maybe it's because I have anxiety, but if that happened to me, I would hole up in the bed and I would just sit and be very quiet and I would just have my phone and I'd go on the internet. I don't know, they have service there, so maybe she can go on the internet. She starts playing the piano, which is where we get the famous scene of the man sitting behind her. She takes a shower alone in this house in the middle of nowhere. If you are someone who would go through that interaction of a random stranger at the door saying, is Tamara here? No, you have the wrong house. Oh, that was weird. And then your partner leaves and you're home alone in this random cabin in the middle of nowhere. Would you take a shower with the door open? Would you at least lock the bathroom door? I don't know, right? And obviously the man is standing there watching her shower, because why wouldn't he be? Would you do that? I'm just seeing if it's like a reasonable thing to do, because I would never in a million years do that. And then not only that, it's the middle of the night. This is the middle of the night, or really, really late. She decides to blow dry her hair after she gets out of the shower. Is this the time or place to be doing that? Again, I'm not someone who regularly blow dries my hair, but would you do that in that situation? Again, make as much noise as you can. She has also, I want to point out, heard footsteps within the house, not outside the house, inside the house multiple times at this point, at least like 3 times. And she just like, that's weird. Let me blow dry my hair so I can't hear anything if someone's coming up behind me. If someone's in the house, let me take a shower, play the piano, blow dry my hair. What are we doing? Why are we making so much noise? Okay. Again, the girl comes back, says, is Tamara here? She decides to talk back. Again, never in a million years would I, in the middle of the night, alone, talk to someone through the door. I'd pretend I was not there. I'd turn all the lights off and I would go to bed and wait for my partner. In fact, he would not even have gone. I'd be like, you're going to figure it out with your husband. We're going to figure this out. You're not leaving me, or I'm going with you. I'm going to ride on the back of that motorcycle and we're going to go get your inhaler in the car. So when she actually takes it seriously, oh, there's someone probably inside this house. Let me shine my phone flashlight, because they turned all the power off, right? Let me shine my phone flashlight, hide in this closet, and leave my flashlight on, shining towards the door where there's a huge gap. They'll never find you. They'll never find if you have your light on in a closet. Again, this is kind of a callback to the original. Okay, she does this in the original where she had like a flashlight. She drops it on the ground and she's waiting and the light is shining. Okay, I get it. They kind of recreated that, but it's a phone. This is completely different. This is a different era. Okay, it's your phone flashlight. It's like moving a little bit because you're holding the phone flashlight. So obviously it's moving a little bit. In the original, it was just like a flashlight on the ground. She was scared to move. She was petrified to go grab that flashlight. Okay. That's how I explain it in my head. Okay. Why it's different. And it's like you start to see the light under the door from someone else on the other side. They obviously can see your light under the door of the closet. Why are you hiding? Anyway, every single time these people are hiding from the strangers, they are near a goddamn window. Why are you by a window? Why are you by a window when there is a home invasion happening? First, they hide in the bedroom and there's a man in the house, right? The guy. And they decide to hide right next to the window. Okay. And then later they go into the shed, are looking around the shed. And he's like, okay, stay here right by the window. Watch the window. And then, someone comes through the window and they grab her. I would never have anticipated that when she was sitting right next to the window and there's people around trying to get in.
Strong and smart decisions.
Also, dude needed an inhaler for a close call with a car, right? He almost runs into a car because he's being so affectionate with his girlfriend. He's just like, I love you so much. And they're, and then they almost get in a car accident because they just love each other so much. Again, the tone could not be more different from the original. He needed an inhaler for that scene. But home invasion, he's good for a while. He's good until he's not. And then he has to make a makeshift inhaler out of the loudest object imaginable, a plastic water bottle. He's in the middle of the woods that are dead silent and he finds a water bottle, a plastic, and he just twists that shit. Does that even work? I don't know. Some science person can tell me if that would actually work that way to make oxygen. If you just empty a water bottle and twist it, does that create oxygen? I don't know, but it was loud. It was loud. These people love making noise to tell the whole world where they are. Something that happens all the time in horror movies that really bugs me, and this one does it really, really bad. As soon as they find a really good hiding spot that works, okay, someone has walked by, didn't notice them, walks away, they move. They just start moving. They get out of that spot. I would Peter Malark that and sit there and just stay as completely still as possible for hours. You wouldn't see me till sunrise. I'd be just chilling in that spot if it worked, okay? They already checked it. Why do you need to get up? And I know what you're thinking. Give this is a movie. This is a horror movie. We got to move the plot along. They can't just sit there for hours and hours. I get it. So then do something that drives them out of that. Give them a motivation to leave that spot. And I get, she might be looking for a boyfriend. Okay, she's trying to get back to her boyfriend. I would still be sitting there. So give me a better reason, better motivation for her to leave that spot. Okay. We need to talk about how insufferable these characters are. Okay. I don't know if it has to do with the acting. No offense. Okay. But her acting, Madeline Petch's acting, was just like Delaney on TikTok. I said that in my video that I did of horror movies that are still to come, and I mentioned in the trailer the acting looks really bad. Okay, it looks just like this creator who makes fun of movies. She makes parodies of movies just like this, and she acts the exact same way that Madeline Petch did in this movie. They're just unbelievable. First of all, unbelievable everything. I don't believe these people at all as characters. I don't believe that she actually smokes weed. I'm sorry. I mean, granted, anyone can. I'm not trying to typecast, but in a movie situation, I just could tell she just doesn't do that. She probably does not do that. Also with the Zippo lighter, I don't know. Why wouldn't you have a little bic? And on the unbelievable note, dialogue. The unbelievable dialogue was just driving me up the wall. So he went to go get food as he got his inhaler and everything. And he asked, can I get a cheeseburger? And can I get another cheeseburger with no meat? My girlfriend's a vegetarian. They don't care. They don't care. She's not around. She's not there. They don't care. Would you go to In-N-Out or wherever burger place you go to and tell the worker, hey, make sure you don't put meat on that one. My girlfriend can't eat meat. No, you would just say, give me a grilled cheese. You don't need to tell them, oh, my girlfriend's a vegetarian. We've also already heard that twice at this point. They said that in the diner, and they poked fun at it a little bit because, oh, she's a vegetarian in a small town. They've never heard of that. In 2024, they have never heard of a vegetarian in a small town. That's never happened ever. And they don't know how to deal with that. It's just a lot of little unbelievable lines like that just don't make any... you would never say that. They would never say these things. When she's home alone and the person comes back and knocks on the door, is Tamara here? And then they leave, she says, oh, Ryan, please come home. You wouldn't say that. You would never say out loud, oh, please come home. It's just such a standard, low... No, I can't even say low budget, but such a standard low effort horror movie way to go about things. All the little things that they did were just so cliche, and even the dialogue was just, everything was unbelievable and not in an entertaining way. It added absolutely nothing to the story. I don't care that she's a vegetarian. Why was that even in there? Why was that pointed out 3 times in the movie that she doesn't eat meat? I'm just confused. Why do we care? I just don't know why this needed to be made, first of all, but also why did this need to be a Strangers remake? I think since they changed the exposition of how this went about and things about it, it could have been just another home invasion movie. It would have been forgettable. We would never talk about it ever again, probably, because it's just one of those bad movies, right? But they decided, no, we want to bank on the popularity of the original Strangers and just slap that name on it and do it an absolute injustice and make something that is just so low quality for the Strangers fans. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Because Strangers fans, I'm telling you, are not going to be happy about this. Now, I have seen some people like this, okay? I'm not saying it's the worst movie this year. I really don't think it is. It's just hard when you make a remake, okay, it is a remake, reboot, whatever, to not compare it to the original and then to not even try to do it justice. You know what I mean? And we have been in that era for a long, long time. Carrie, Pet Sematary, The Grudge, all did a disservice to the originals. If they just changed a couple things, it could have just been its own movie, but they knew what they were doing with this movie. The last thing I kind of want to touch on is the ending a little bit. So if you haven't seen it or you don't want the original one spoiled a little bit, then don't watch the rest of this video. I have to talk about the famous line in both of them because they tried to do the famous scene again where, you know, the girl is saying, why are you doing this to us? And then the other girl says, because you were home. That's the original line in the original movie, okay? That's unsettling. because then that's when you realize this is just random. It's just random, and that's the horror of it. It is just a brutal crime done for no reason at all, and it's tragic. And then they try to recreate that same element in the new one by saying, why are you doing this to us?
Because you're here.
Because it's an Airbnb. It's not a home. She can't say because you're home, because it's an Airbnb. In the original, it's, you know, the boyfriend's family's vacation home. So technically, yeah, they are visiting this home, but it is his home. Because you're here doesn't have the same effect as because you were home. When you say because you were home, viewers can then put themselves in that situation because it's like, oh, I'm home. I'm home all the time. I'm home right now. When you say because you were here, because you're here at an Airbnb, it's like, that's not relatable. I mean, yes, sometimes we stay at Airbnbs every now and again. It was just not as effective as the original in capturing that tension. The tension in the original is so... I put it on in the middle of the day to fold laundry. I didn't do that. I sat and watched that movie because I was just so engrossed in it, more than I ever remembered I was the first time. And that does not translate to the new one. They have made no effort to put in any kind of tension that they did in the original, and they've done the standard cliche horror movie formula that we are seeing again and again and again, especially this year, of all these bad movies, and I am exhausted by it. Again, didn't need to be a remake. We didn't need to remake that. Didn't need to put The Strangers on that movie title at all. It could have just been anything else, because it did not feel like a Strangers movie. You copied the masks, okay, but it wasn't a Strangers movie. I don't think I have been this harsh about a movie in a really long time. For those of you who enjoyed this, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know, I went in a little bit too much in this video, but it is what it is. That's my review of it. I hope you enjoyed. I will be doing a separate rant on remakes, so you can stay tuned for that. I'm gonna keep the same energy. So if you don't like negativity, then that's not going to be the video for you. But let me know your thoughts on The Strangers Chapter 1. And if you're excited for Chapter 2 and 3 later this year. And yeah, just give me your thoughts overall. I hope you enjoy this rant, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.